Jesus' temptation in the wilderness has generally been understood in three different ways. 1. Satan represents the Pharisees, who provoked Jesus to prove himself with signs. 2. Jesus is a model for how the church should overcome temptation by appealing to Scripture. And 3, and perhaps most productively, Jesus is Israel. He spends 40 days in the wilderness, the way Israel spent 40 years in the wilderness, and he responds to Satan's temptations by quoting passages from Deuteronomy that relate to the wilderness journey. But I don't think any of these approaches captures the bigger picture of spiritual warfare being waged in this pericope, so I will now attempt a reading more focused on the angelic element. It says, after 40 days, Jesus was hungry. And the tempter came and said to him, and the leading clause is what we want to highlight, if you are the Son of God. This points back to the baptism, where the heavenly voice said, this is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. This is a combination of Psalm 2:7, I will tell of the decree, the Lord said to me, you are my Son, and Isaiah 42:1, behold my servant whom I uphold, my chosen, in whom my soul delights. Jesus' sonship is being defined by the role of the suffering servant. So now Satan will seek to pervert this definition of sonship by inviting Jesus to serve only himself. Scholars often recognize Job as an influence in the temptation. After God says something affirming about Job, that he is the most righteous man alive, Satan moves to test Job with suffering. Here in Matthew, God has affirmed the unique sonship of Jesus, and now Satan has arrived to test him as well. And if John Noland is correct, this is a heavenly council scene. The heavens only open to Jesus, meaning he is the only one to hear the declaration made in the heavenly court, suggesting a stronger parallel with Job, since that was a heavenly council scene as well, an assembly of the sons of God. And the tempter came and said to him, if you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread. This looks ahead to the end of the temptation, when the devil left him, and behold, angels came and were serving him. The verb here denotes to serve with food. Almost all the commentators say this. I had to look hard to find one who didn't say it. The controlling frame of the wilderness wandering also cambers in the direction of a bread-angel association. In Psalm 77, it says, for man ate the bread of angels. He sent them food in abundance. And in the wisdom of Solomon, it says, you gave your people food of angels, and without their toil you supplied them from heaven with bread ready to eat. Another story that is commonly thought to be in the background involves the prophet Elijah. He is fed by an angel twice at the outset of his 40-day fast on his way to Mount Sinai. Likewise, in the next chapter, Jesus will take up his Moses-like station and give the eschatological law to his church. So the temptation begins with an angel tempting Jesus to feed himself, and it ends with angels feeding Jesus. I think that's more than just a stylistic inclusio. I think in combination with other angelic elements in the other temptations, it must have some kind of meaning. I think Satan is attempting to refute the divine claim of Jesus' unique sonship by lowering him to the role the story has reserved for the angels. This is interesting because Jesus will provide miraculous bread for the crowds on 2 occasions later in Matthew. So in Matthew, the angels feed Jesus, and Jesus feeds the people. That's the way it works if Jesus sticks to God's plan. If Jesus does not prevail over Satan, then his distinctive role has been compromised, and his sonship looks like angelic sonship. And Satan said to him, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. More than anything else, this scene catalyzed my thinking in this direction. Scholars offer a lot of helpful exegesis at this point, focusing on how Satan is using or misusing Psalm 91 and how Jesus will not test God the way the Israelites did in the wilderness. But the fact that Satan is an angel, whose only citation of Scripture in the New Testament includes a reference to angels, seems to me to be a detail we should notice, that it might be significant. If Satan just needs a passage promising divine protection to use on Jesus, he could have used any countless number of texts. but the angel chooses a passage about angels. And it looks ahead to the Garden of Gethsemane, when Peter draws his sword and Jesus says to him, "Do you think I cannot appeal to my Father, and he will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels?" Inviting Jesus to serve bread like the angels, or to worship an angel as in the next temptation, makes me think that inviting Jesus to place his protection in the hands of angels must bear some significance having to do with angels. Perhaps Satan is attempting to show Jesus is not so distinguished from the other sons of God after all, if in his vulnerability he is dependent on an angelic entourage for protection. Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to them, "All these I will give you if you will fall down and worship me." This scene is a satanic distortion of the Mount Zion theology in Psalm 2, where Yahweh offers the king the nations of the world on a mountain. Now again on a mountain, Satan's offer of power over the nation-states is not an empty boast. And again, divine sonship language is associated with this motif. In Deuteronomy 32, the nations are divided up to be placed under the rulership of the sons of God. Psalm 82 is a divine counsel passage in which Yahweh lampoons the sons of God for not bringing about justice on the earth. And you get a vivid picture of this in Daniel 10, where the angels over the nations are fighting against God's angel. Satan's role in the angelic national complex can be reinforced by other texts. In Revelation 13, the Roman Empire receives its authority from the devil. In the Testament of Dan, the tribe of Dan's angel is Satan, and in 3rd Enoch, Satan gets together with the angels of Rome and Persia to write accusations against Israel. But the seraphim, true to their name, burn the accusations up so they never reach the throne. So I visualize it this way. Angel tempts Jesus to provide food for himself in the wilderness, lines up with angels provide food for Jesus in the wilderness. And angel tempts Jesus with safety through angelic protection, lines up with angel tempts Jesus with power through angel worship. I think the angelic quality of the temptation narrative has not been given its due, and that this spiritual warfare paradigm in which Jesus as the Son of God is being distinguished from the other sons of God has potential to illumine elements of this story that still require an explanation.